Starting a business is very stressful, very difficult, and I'm willing to bet that you don't have time and patience to run around all over the internet trying to figure out how to start a business. So I've done you a favor and I've compiled it all into a 5-part series. So all you have to do is watch this and follow the instructions. This took me forever to figure out, you guys. In this episode, we're going to focus on the first step, which is doing your research and setting up all the legal entities. This is where I probably spent most of my time doing research because I wanted to make sure I did it right. If you screw this up, the other 4 steps don't really matter because you didn't do it right to begin with. So let's start off on a good foot and make sure that all our legal information, taxes, and banking is set up correctly. I am not a tax accountant and I am also not a legal advisor, so this is just for your own entertainment. Step 1 is, what business are you going into? I think a lot of creatives in particular skip this step, and it is actually mind-boggling to me because why would you even start a company, start a business without having a business plan, a plan for the business? And I think this is why we have a lot of starving artists is they don't think this part through. They want to jump to the fun part, which is the creative part, and they skip all the stuff up front. So that's what we're running through right now. So step 1 is you're going to ask yourself why, and you're going to get your business plan put together because this affects step 2, which is what is your business model? And by business model, I mean, for example, do you do wedding videography? Are you going to do real estate? Are you doing only social media digital ads? Do you want to work in the big Hollywood narrative film, feature film industry? Do you want to go into documentary? Each one of these categories is completely separate. You need to decide that up front because you need to focus on the one thing. As artists and especially entrepreneurs, we can be like, all over the place. I'm definitely this person. I've started a million businesses and of course only maybe half have worked, right? And I think if I had just focused on 1 or 2, that would have been a little bit better, but I was kind of all over the place. There's actually a book called that, The One Thing, and I highly recommend it. Very, very good at getting you to focus on the one thing, and that's what we need to do here. What are you going to do? Let's say it is commercial filmmaking. Okay, so now you're going to plan all your gear, your finances, and your advertising and getting your clients in that one field. If you try and go all over the place, you're going to get clients all over and you're not going to get really good at that one type of thing. So focus, niche down. Once we have this in place, we now know how much we need to earn. So if you were saying, hey, I want to replace my salary of $80,000 a year, you need to look at how much of that you took home, and then you need to work backwards. You're going to hear me say this so much throughout the series, which is work backwards. In order to get to where you need to be, you have to do the math backwards. So if you need to make $80,000 a year, and of that, let's say you need $50,000 cash to take home to be able to pay your bills every single month, well, just know that as an entrepreneur, you're going to pay quite a bit more than if you were working a salary job. So you need to be able to calculate in advance, like, oh, I actually need to make $100,000 this year in order to have the equivalent of $80,000 at a salary job because I got to pay my own health insurance, things like that. So if you're in my Patreon group, you do get this spreadsheet. Magically, you just have to click in a bunch of numbers and it will actually calculate out how much you need to make every single month to have a sustainable business. And this gives you your key number. I also calculate in there, you should be saving at least 3 months, preferably 6, but 3 months of income in order to do this. Why? Because you're not going to be launching your business and being successful from day one. You'll have clients, yes, but you're not going to be making a ton of money usually in the first couple weeks. There's going to be invoicing time. There's going to be setup time. In filmmaking, we have to do the film shoot, right? So there's probably a week there of planning, shooting, editing, delivering, then invoicing. Even if you hit the ground running, that's probably about a month and a half of runway that you need. And then you build momentum. So let's just be safe and say 3 months of income. This is also calculated in the spreadsheet so that you know how much money you need to start off with. It also calculates gear and it shows you how much you should be charging your client based off of which category you're in, what gear you have. Just hit in a number right there and then bam, calculates it so that you know how much to expect to earn because this should not be a mystery. You should know exactly how much you are charging based on your experience level and how much you can expect to earn. If you don't know these numbers, it's a little scary, right? You're just like, am I going to be able to run a business? Am I going to be able to eat next month if I start a film business? So very important stuff. Okay, the next step is to set a deadline. This is important, right? This is also something that's really small. You should set a deadline. Most human beings, even somebody who's got a lot of grit like me, you should have to set a deadline in order to push yourself to make that happen. For example, if you're about ready to quit your job, you're going to do a 2 weeks notice, and then you might say, okay, After my 2 weeks are up, I'm going to take 1 week off, and then that third week, the end of the third week, that is my deadline to start my company. I'm going to make sure to book all of Friday, sit down, plan out my whole business, just crank it out. You can actually do most of this in one day. So just pick that one day that you're going to watch this video series, sit down, do all the instructions, and get it done. Okay, let's dive into the nitty-gritty. Sole proprietor versus LLC, self-employed, S-Corp. What do all those things mean and why are they important? Well, you should do your research because depending on how much you earn, this will change what you're going to do. So by default, everybody is self-employed. If you start working for yourself and you're charging clients, you are self-employed. And so you're going to pay self-employed taxes. So normally your previous employer would have paid this, but now you get to pay the full amount, which is ouch. It's definitely a lot. We will go more into taxes later in section 5, but I just want to tell you right now, you should plan on, let's say 40% of your income just vanishing, right? That goes to taxes. So whatever you're going to plan for, if you're doing self-employed or LLC, that's going to be 40% gone. Now you can be a little bit fancier and do an S-Corp. That's a completely different setup, but S-Corp is good for people who start earning over $50,000 to $60,000 because it reduces the amount of taxes that you earn. So here's the major difference. The correct answer here is create an LLC, right? So we can cut to that, very simple. But I'm going to explain everything very quickly so that you understand. Self-employed just means that you are the business. You, Sidney Reed, I am the business myself. So if I invoice a client, it's going to say, please pay Sidney Reed, and that probably just goes into my personal bank account. Perfectly fine if you're doing freelance gigs. But an LLC is different. Now I've created a, let's call it Sidney Reed Studios, LLC. And that means if somebody tries to sue me, I'm not the person, right? You have to sue the business. Things are in the business. So if I have a camera, like this camera gear around me, that's owned by the business. It's not owned by Sidney Reed personally. It is a business expense. Same if I'm traveling or if I'm doing invoicing, all of that, credit card banking is under Sidney Reed Studios, LLC. You're going to name your LLC something separately. So you could make up something completely different. Like I could be Extraordinarily Amazing Films, LLC, and that's the name of my business, right? You're going to register that limited liability and package everything under there. An S-Corp is a little bit different. So what you're going to do with an S-Corp is money goes and it's paid by the S-Corp. The S-Corp is like the company, right? So you've got the company, and then I, Sidney Reed, am the CEO and owner of this S-Corp. So you can have an LLC under an S-Corp. You can have the parent company and a bunch of LLCs. We don't really want to do this quite yet for filmmaking because it's complicated. So even though you kind of understand what it is, you don't want to have your S-Corp and then you're going to have to hire somebody to do your bookkeeping and your paychecks, and then they're going to write you a check because you're an employee, so they have to give you a pay stub. Very complicated. I would worry about it later. Let's just get launched, okay? So we're just going to make an LLC. How do we do that? Okay, that's the next step. Here we go. So step 1 for me was going to the Colorado Secretary's website and registering my LLC. So I picked a name. For this video, I'm just going to call it Sidney Reed Studios, LLC. And let's say I go on the website and I pick that and it goes, yay, look at that, Sidney. Sidney Reed Studios, LLC is available for purchase. And so you purchase it. And right now in the state of Colorado, you can purchase an LLC for $1. Now in the future, this may not be the same. It's probably around $40 to $50 for an LLC. Very small cost, so get that registered. From this point on, everything you do is as the LLC, not as you personally, right? So it's going to be Sidney Reed Studios, LLC, not Sidney Reed, the human being. Now you're going to take that LLC and you're going to go and get your Federal EIN number. This is your tax identification. This is very important to have because any invoices you receive, any taxes, any expenses, banking, all that stuff is going to go through your LLC, not you. Do not use your social security for any of this from now on. Make sure you use your EIN, which is your social security number for your business. It's going to ask you a couple questions and it's important to answer these correctly. One of them is, when do you do your taxes? Make it really easy on yourself and just say that your taxes are from January 1st and that you complete them on December 31st. Make it really easy. Your fiscal year is just your regular 2022, 2023, whatever. Just that 1 year. Make it really easy on yourself. There's also going to be a 6-digit number that you need to identify what industry you're in. And for the film industry, you're going to enter this right here, okay? So this tells the government what sector that you are in. It's important for taxes, it's important for tracking, things like that. And the last one, you're gonna get this sheet of paper where you're gonna have to print this out and take it to the bank. This is a way to verify that your LLC exists so that you can get a business bank account for it. If you don't have it, just go to the bank and they can look it up and print it for you as long as you've already filed and received your EIN. For me, they told me the EIN would take maybe like a couple weeks, and I got it within 72 hours. It was insanely fast. So shocking for the federal government to be that quick, but yeah, you can get your EIN in over a weekend. I think I filed Thursday, and by Monday morning, I had received my EIN and I was already going to the bank and getting everything set up that afternoon. Okay, what about those W-9s? W-9s are something that you've probably signed in the past if you've done any freelance or gig or contract work. W-9s are a way to track taxes. So for example, it's a way of telling a business and the freelancer like, hey, work happened between the two of you. Cool. Taxes work. We don't have to audit you guys. They match. So the W-2 is something that you're going to sign. Your employer, I believe, is supposed to give you the W-2, but I just keep one signed on hand. And you're going to use this and make sure to put your EIN, not your social security on it. Put your Sidney Reed Studios LLC and your EIN on the W-9, and you're going to be telling whoever hires you, please charge me as an LLC. Don't give it to me personally because I need it to go in my business bank account. And that is the next step, is setting up that bank account. Actually, just kidding. I forgot one step. If you want, it's optional, but you can set up a separate email for this. I don't, because I get 1 trillion emails and I have like 30 email accounts from every single client I've worked for. If they're a big company, they've made me a new email address. So I have so many emails. So I don't bother, trying to separate them out anymore. They go into my all inbox on Apple Mail anyway. They're all just thrown in the same pile, so there's really no reason for me to separate it. But if you want to be more official, you can create Sidney Reed Studios LLC at gmail.com, or whatever, and use that instead for everything moving forward. Okay, back to the banking. So you're going to go to the bank and you're going to bring that piece of paper, or they can print it out for you, with the EIN information, and you're going to tell them, I want to set up a business bank account. So make sure you have a couple things. You need to have 2 forms of identification for me, like passport, driver's license, that's fine, just use that. And bring a deposit, maybe bring like $200 or $300 cash or a checkbook. You just have to make the deposit within usually like 30 days. So you don't have to bring cash, but just take care of it, right? You're gonna be so busy, you're gonna forget, and it's just one less thing to have to think about. So bring that cash, go to your bank, say, hey, I want to set up a business account. Now you're going to want to book this online. If you just walk in, odds are you're going to have to wait a little bit. They need very specific people to be able to set up these accounts for you. So for me, I went through Chase because they gave me a $400 bonus for setting up a bank account. And I do the Chase credit card with them. And it was an $800 bonus on their Chase credit card. $800. I bought a new lens with it. I mean, that's like a pretty good bonus. I don't think I've ever had such a good bonus on a credit card, so good for you, Chase. You pulled me away from Wells Fargo, at least on the business side. So if you want that deal, I'll put it in the link below. I believe it's still active, at least for a while, but man, that's a good deal. So now you've got your appointment, you show up, you're setting up your business account. They're gonna walk you through everything. They're gonna ask you those questions. They're gonna ask for that 6-digit number so that they know which department, which sector and category to put your business account into. I would highly suggest putting a checking and savings account in there because your money will come into the checking account and then you're going to cut that 40% for taxes and put it in savings and pretend it never existed. And then you're going to want to link your debit card and credit card to your business account so you've got one nice, beautiful ecosystem. From this point on, do not buy anything out of your personal accounts or credit cards. Everything has to be, it doesn't have to, but let's not make an accounting nightmare mess later when we have to do taxes. So just everything, do it from the credit card or the debit card, right? Make your life easy. Don't accidentally have your invoice go into your personal business account, then you got to move it back over. That is a nightmare. That's a huge headache during tax season, and I'm pretty sure that's why people hate doing their taxes. So now that you have a bank account, all that has to go in that ecosystem. Don't mess that part up. And then by the time you leave, they're going to give you this gigantic stack of, it's like 40 papers and you only have to sign a little bit of it, but it's a lot of paperwork. So what I would suggest is getting something like Dropbox or Sync Unlimited at this point, using your business credit card. Sign up for that. I have Sync Unlimited. I've talked about this in the past where I think it's better than Dropbox. It's faster, it's unlimited, it's half the price. I use Unlimited, so I don't think I really get like a kickback or anything, but I do have an affiliate code below so that you can get a discount on sync.com. I think it's amazing. I would, from this point on, put all your business stuff into one sync pile. So put all your documents, all your banking records, all your paperwork, these 40 pages. You're not going to want to just carry around 40 pages. So get a digital copy, put it in sync.com. Start keeping all your paperwork organized, because when you do your taxes at the end of the year, you don't want to be digging for paperwork in your office, right? Just put it all online digitally in one spot. All right, the next step is to get business insurance. We're moving really fast, I know. Business insurance is very critical. Do not skip this. It's something like $36 a month. I go through State Farm. I'm sure there's not even like any recommendation for that, but I'll drop it below in case you guys want to know what that policy is. But I just have $15,000 in coverage and $100,000 in personal damages, or like personal body damages, physical damages, medical, and then I have $1 million in property damage, etc., things like that. So for me, this is really important because I travel with my gear. What if my gear gets stolen? Or what if I have employees and they drop soda on a computer and they accidentally like ruin somebody's laptop on a film set, right? Like you want to cover all these things. Plus, from what I've discovered, everybody hurts themselves on a film set. It's why I carry a massive first aid kit. This insurance policy for $36 a month is so important. Just do it. It's nothing, right? Compared to the amount of money that you're going to be making here soon. Do not skip this, because if you have to pay for any damages out of pocket, holy smokes, for film gear, that is expensive. If you drop a lens, that free $1,000 lens that I just got using my sign-up code is now gone, right? And I would rather just pay $36 and have it covered. $36, nothing, right? Just do it. Okay, next is health insurance. I believe this is still required to carry health insurance. If not, at the end of the year, you get a tax penalty. So for me, I go through Kaiser. Kaiser is not available in every state. It's here in Colorado and Georgia, the two places I went to school, and Colorado, where is my home, this is my home state. So for me, insurance is incredibly cheap in the state of Colorado. For me to have really excellent coverage, it is $287 a month, and that is pretty darn good. Next, what you're going to want to do is set up a website. This is going to be more important in the later steps when we talk about marketing and getting recurring clients and things like that. But it's important to have your website right now. And there's more people being born in the world, so you better claim your website. So for me, it's sidneyre.com. That was easy to claim. I was able to get that domain, piece of cake, and I host my portfolio on Squarespace. I've used them for, I don't know, ever since I was an undergrad or something like that. So probably like 15 plus years. It's amazing, super easy to build. You can build your website in a single day, which is really great because we're busy setting up a business. We don't have time to be fiddling around on a website. So you just click, go, bam. I wish Squarespace sponsored this, but they did not. So it's just me talking about how great it is, right? Much easier than WordPress. So if you want that affiliate link, I think you get a coupon. It's pretty good. Check it out in the description box below and you can do a sign up there. And thank you in advance because whatever I earn from that is just going to go back into making more free videos for you guys. Okay, along that same note, you want to go grab your social media handles. This is going to be different than your personal one, although it's pretty common to be able to use your own name for social media for both personal and business. For me, for Instagram, Facebook, all that, I've always used my personal account just to show off filmmaking because that's pretty much my entire life, right? Instagram is a really great portfolio. So a lot of people don't want to go to your website. They just want to check you out on Instagram and watch your reels and be like, oh, cool, she knows what she's doing. Let's hire her. That might be a little bit different if you're showing, like your vacation stuff and your pets and your cool lunch sushi that you ate. And they're just like, I don't really care about that. They don't want to have to dig to find your portfolio. So put it all in one spot. Okay, next is setting up Quickbooks. I also have a coupon for this. Man, just hitting you guys with those coupons. Here's the savings below that I calculated. If you use my affiliate links, here's how much money you will save. So go ahead and do it. So you're going to set up Quickbooks. This is going to be your accounting booking software. This is very important to do because if I catch you doing all your banking in spreadsheets, why? Like I see all the time on Etsy, there's all these like spreadsheets that you can buy for $15. and you have to hand type in all your receipts and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hello, why are you still doing stuff in an Excel spreadsheet? Like, ew, gross. Just use QuickBooks. It's like $7.99 a month, right? It costs nothing, and it automatically pulls all your banking information, those credit cards, those savings, those checking, all that, and it puts it into one spot, and you literally tell it, this is a business expense for gear. This is a health insurance expense. This is a business insurance expense. And guess what? At the end of the year, QuickBooks takes it, shoves it into TurboTax, spits it out, and is like, double check this, but here's your taxes. Oh, so nice to be fully automated, and you just upload the receipt. It's great. So I've been using QuickBooks for a very long time. Don't think it's complicated. It's super simple. It's like, it used to be really complicated, but now it's like stupidly easy, right? And it comes with a phone app. So now you can do things like track your mileage, take pictures of your receipts. You can even use like a timer on it. So you can see, okay, I worked 2 hours and 37 minutes for this client doing editing. Bing, and you timestamp it, and then you can invoice them directly out of there. So that's probably the most important thing, is invoicing. Clients know what QuickBooks is, and so if you invoice them that way, they feel more comfortable. You can receive money through direct deposit, banking. They can pay with credit card. You want to make payments for your clients very easy, because if you make it too complicated, they just don't pay you very quickly. They might take about a month to pay you. But if you're like, hey, here's a PayPal link, with one click of a button through QuickBooks, you can pay me, they're just going to take care of it right away. Really try not to collect money through Venmo and Cash App or cash, because you just don't risk getting audited by the IRS, especially now that you're using an EIN number. You have to do everything above board. You got to make sure you track everything, document it, every single penny. Do not get audited. Just do it the right way, right? I'm gonna talk about tax savings later. Don't cheat this part, because there's much easier ways to save, like 20% of your money. So don't penny pinch here. Save money in the bigger part where it matters and where it's done legally. So you would think that you want to set up TurboTax later during tax season, but no, you want to set that up right now, because remember, we're trying to do as much upfront as possible to save all this time and make our lives easier in the long run. And it's going to ask you things like, are you working from home? This is obviously my office. I also have a second office right next door to this one, and that's where I put all my film gear. So I would calculate that square footage of the house and tell TurboTax, like, this is how many square feet of my house is used for business. You're going to enter your car. Do you use your car 50% of the time for business? Is it 1/3 of the time? So you're just going to track your odometer, just hit those miles, and you're going to add in your vehicle and say, this is now my business vehicle. Now, there's a lot of other things that you have to add in as well. For example, at this point, if you have a laptop and it was your personal laptop, and then today you start a business, what you need to do is go online and see what is today's value of your laptop, and you get to write that off 100% this year. So I've got a MacBook Pro right here, and I think right now used, it's an older one, it's maybe $850. Today, I get to write off $850. Now, I might have bought the laptop for $3,000 back in the day, but I used it for personal reasons, but today is a business asset, and so $850 is what I get to write off on TurboTaxes later. Same with my camera gear. The camera that I'm filming on, this A7 III, is what I used to use for personal stuff. And now that I've converted over to a business, today's value of the camera is actually the same when I bought it. These Sony cameras really hold their value. So I'm able to write off that amount because it is now a business asset that is covered under my business insurance and attached to my EIN. So make sure, go through right now and make your giant inventory list of all the stuff that you are converting to business today. Square footage of the house, calculating your assets, your laptops, things like that. Adding in your car, health insurance write-offs, things like that. Make sure to calculate that all. Even something as simple as driving to the bank to set up your business account, write those miles off on your taxes. Those count as business expenses. Okay, one more thing with the W-9, only because we have to know how to do this now instead of later. If we do it later, it's too late. So for tax reasons, make sure that whenever you use a W-9, that it's documented. So for example, if you're like, hey, I'm a business owner, and Sidney, I'm setting up my business. I'm a videographer, I'm a wedding videographer, but I know that every time I book a client, I'm gonna have to hire some help, right? I can't afford a second camera. I can't be in two places at once. I'm going to charge the client $5,000 for this wedding, but I'm going to hire an assistant and I'm going to pay this person $1,500 to help me for part of the day. You're like, cool. What do I do with taxes? So what you're going to do is, let's say it's a big company that's hiring you for weddings. You're going to sign a W-9 with them. Then let's say this assistant is going to work for you for a couple of weddings, like throughout the season, and they're going to do some consistent weekend work with you. What you're going to do is have them sign a W-9 under you. So we've got this tier system. Now, every single time that you pay them, you're going to write off that $1,500 off on your taxes. This is why it's important to do this now, because when you pay them, you need to make sure you pay them from your EIN down to their personal name, their LLC. How they set up their business is up to them. But you need to make sure that you pay them as Sidney Reed Studios LLC and not as Sidney Reed the human being. From this point on, any money that comes in or out, you have to track in QuickBooks. It is so important to do that. Track everything. Okay, a couple more things to make your life easy that didn't really fit in the other categories. So one of them is, if you haven't been able to tell already, from my free $1,000 camera lens that I got just by signing up through Chase. I mean, they really got me on that one. But what I also like to use is Rakuten. Rakuten, is that what it's called? Man, I am all about that cashback. So again, this is free to use. Everything that I buy through Rakuten, and I'm like at $150 cash back, just like since the last payout, because I do everything, all my groceries, everything. So you can imagine that business expenses, like especially if you go through Best Buy or Adorama or anything like that, they do between like 1% and 3% cash back. 3% cash back on my brand new A7S III camera was like, it was amazing. And so I was able to use that and a little bit more money, and I saved up and I bought some new battery packs for my camera. By the way, all my gear is listed below if you want to see that, but I mean, you can look at it now, but we're going to go over this in the next video anyway. I'm going to go through the whole list of everything that you probably need to get set up using your free money that you got from all these cashback experiences, right? So use Rakuten. That sign up link is below. I think that one I do get an affiliate. It's something like $10 or $5. It's probably actually not as much as I think it is. But the point is that you want to make sure that with these big ticket items, right? These like Amazon purchases, these Adorama purchases, get that 3% cash back, because it adds up so much over time, right? You might as well get it. It's free. I mean, it's like free money. And especially early on when you don't have income yet, you're going to want as much free stuff as possible because it'll add up and it helps over time. All right, the next tip to do is to use Notion to organize everything. Eventually, I will do a whole separate video on how I organize my Notion. Mine's a little complicated, right? Because I always see people using Notion, which is an organization software. They put in their notes, they put in their episodes, they put in like client information, but mine, because I'm a complete nerd and I love using Excel spreadsheets. This is like Excel spreadsheets on steroids, right? Mixed with Microsoft Word, mixed with Canva, mixed with like Dropbox, like it's all in one. And I think a lot of YouTube creators use it. I've been using Notion for a really long time. It's like $4 a month, but you don't even have to use that. You can just use the free one. I mean, it really is just free. I actually don't know why I pay $4 a month. Oh, it's so that I can share online to my clients and they can come and they can add notes as well. But if you don't need other people adding in notes, you can just do the free version, which is like the full suite, right? I don't think it locks you out of anything that's super critical. So for mine, eventually I'll walk through how I do my template, but mine has where you can enter in your timesheets and it auto calculates your invoices, which you then send to QuickBooks. I have templates that you go through, and when you want to talk to a client, there's a whole checklist of onboarding. I organize all of them so that I can see all on one page, like every to-do item that I have to do for every single client goes onto a single dashboard, and it calculates how much time, how much money, if I'm profitable. So I just have like spreadsheets and formulas and calculations all over the place. That's a separate video, but for now, I would recommend you use Notion just to put everything in one spot. You don't want notebooks floating around with notes from clients and meetings. You really want to just put it in one spot, because the more organized you are on a film set, the better off you will be getting things done on time, under budget, and making your client happy because you listened, you paid attention to their requests, and it's all right there. Quick note here, these are the things that you don't need to start your business. If you've noticed, I have not said, make a logo, make business cards, pick a color palette, decide that you're going to retire in Bali in a year. Like, that's really not what's important right now. What's important is that you get started. I feel really strongly that most creatives do not get to this point, right? They talk about how they're going to start a business. Don't be that person. Take action today. Just like I'm always like, go shoot a film. Go start your business, right? Like, this process you can do in less than a day. Just knock it out, right? It's going to cost you, what, $300 to get started maximum? Get it done, get started. Once you buy that EIN, you are showing that you are committed and you are ready to start this video business. And you are already about 80% ahead of everybody else who they just never get to this point. They just never start. So the key to starting a business, you have that entrepreneurial spirit within you. Just start. That is the key. All right, I hope this video was helpful. Stay tuned for part 2. We're going to go into the actual creation of the business and getting clients and getting started. What gear do we need? These are all coming up in, future episodes. So make sure to subscribe, follow, watch it, like it, share it with somebody who is not taking action and not starting a business, and make them go start their business too. This is not just for video people, it's for everyone. All right, in the meantime, as always, go film something and go start a business. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.